The woman who regrew her fingertip. In 2005, Lee Spivak accidentally sliced off his brother's fingertip with a model airplane propeller, severing the digit at the nail bed. Instead of accepting permanent disfigurement, the family tried an experimental powder made from pig bladder extract. Within 4 weeks, the entire fingertip had completely regenerated: bone, nail, skin, and nerve endings, defying everything medical science understands about human regenerative capacity. The case was documented by Dr. Stephen Badylak at the University of Pittsburgh, who had developed the regenerative powder from pig bladder extracellular matrix. When applied to the wound site, the powder somehow triggered the human body to regrow complex tissue structures that mammals aren't supposed to be capable of regenerating. Medical photography documented the complete regeneration process day by day. The fingertip grew back with full sensation, a perfectly formed nail, and even the unique fingerprint pattern. Microscopic analysis revealed that new bone, cartilage, muscle, nerve, and skin tissue had formed from the patient's own cells, not from the pig bladder material. Dr. Badylak explained that the powder appears to recruit the body's own stem cells to the injury site and somehow reprogram them to rebuild the missing tissue according to the original genetic blueprint. However, humans lost the ability to regenerate complex body parts millions of years ago during evolution, making this recovery theoretically impossible. Independent verification came when the same powder successfully regenerated fingertips in 5 other patients with similar injuries. Each case showed complete tissue regeneration within 4 to 6 weeks, restoring full function and sensation to body parts that had been permanently lost. The mechanism remains completely unexplained. Adult human stem cells don't possess the pluripotent capabilities necessary for complex tissue regeneration, yet the patient's own cells somehow acquired abilities they weren't supposed to have. The powder appears to unlock dormant regenerative programs encoded in human DNA. Recent research has revealed that the regenerated fingertips show gene expression patterns similar to those found in salamanders and other animals capable of limb regeneration. Somehow, the treatment activated ancient genetic programs that have been dormant in mammals for millions of years. The fingertip regeneration cases suggest that humans retain the genetic blueprints for complex tissue regeneration, but lack the biological triggers to activate these programs. The pig bladder extract somehow provides signals that awaken these dormant capabilities, enabling healing that medical science considered impossible. The Anita Moorjani near-death experience. In 2006, Anita Moorjani lay dying in a Hong Kong hospital with end-stage lymphoma. Her organs were shutting down, her body was filled with tumors, and doctors gave her less than 36 hours to live. During a near-death experience that lasted 30 hours while comatose, she claims to have received information about her condition and made a conscious choice to return to life. Within days, her tumors began shrinking. Within 5 weeks, all cancer had disappeared from her body. Medical documentation shows that Moorjani's cancer had progressed to stage 4B lymphoma, with tumors throughout her body, some the size of lemons. Her organs were failing, her lymphatic system was compromised, and multiple oncologists agreed her condition was terminal, with no possibility of recovery. During her coma, brain monitors showed minimal activity consistent with impending death. However, Moorjani later described detailed conversations she had overheard between doctors and family members in different parts of the hospital. Conversations that were independently verified to have occurred while she was unconscious and not physically present. When Moorjani regained consciousness, she told her family that she had been given a choice to return to life, and that if she chose to live, her body would heal rapidly. Despite her critical condition, she insisted she would recover completely. Her doctors considered this impossible given the advanced state of her cancer. Within 5 days, medical scans showed her tumors had shrunk by 70%. Within 5 weeks, all traces of cancer had vanished from her body. Oncologist Dr. T.K. Chan, who treated her at Queen Mary Hospital, confirmed that her recovery was medically inexplicable and unlike anything he had seen in 30 years of cancer treatment. The speed of recovery defied everything known about cancer biology. Tumors don't spontaneously shrink and disappear within weeks, especially in terminal cases where the cancer has metastasized throughout the body. Even the most effective treatments require months to achieve partial remissions, not complete cures. Independent medical review by cancer specialists confirmed that Moorjani's recovery was genuine and couldn't be explained by any known biological mechanisms. The case was documented in medical literature as an example of spontaneous remission with no identifiable cause. Moorjani's ability to describe events that occurred while she was comatose adds another impossible element to her case. Her detailed knowledge of conversations and activities that happened outside her hospital room while she was unconscious suggests that consciousness can function independently of brain activity. The boy who survived 101 minutes underwater. In 2015, 14-year-old John Smith fell through ice into a frozen lake in Missouri and remained underwater for 15 minutes before being pulled out by rescue teams. He had no pulse, no breathing, and no brain activity. After 27 minutes of failed resuscitation attempts, he was declared dead. Then his mother prayed over his body, and his heart suddenly started beating. He made a complete recovery with no brain damage despite being without oxygen for over 100 minutes. The case was documented by Dr. Kent Sutterer at St. Joseph Hospital West, who declared Smith dead after all resuscitation efforts failed. Medical monitors showed no cardiac activity, no brain waves, and no response to stimulation. Smith's body temperature had dropped to 88 degrees, and he showed all clinical signs of death. When Smith's mother Joyce prayed over his body, asking God to give her son back, cardiac monitors immediately detected a heartbeat. Medical staff confirmed that Smith's heart began beating spontaneously after showing no activity for 45 minutes. There was no medical intervention that could explain the sudden return of cardiac function. Dr. Jeremy Garrett, the pediatric cardiologist who treated Smith, stated that surviving such prolonged oxygen deprivation without brain damage was medically impossible. Brain cells begin dying within 4-6 minutes without oxygen, and permanent damage occurs within 10 minutes. Smith had been without oxygen for over 100 minutes. Neurological testing revealed that Smith had suffered no brain damage whatsoever. His cognitive function, memory, and motor skills were completely normal, despite having been clinically dead for nearly an hour. MRI scans showed no signs of hypoxic brain injury that should have been extensive given the duration of oxygen deprivation. The medical team could find no explanation for Smith's survival and complete recovery. Dr. Sutterer admitted that the case defied medical science and that Smith should have either died permanently or survived with severe brain damage. Instead, he recovered completely as if the drowning had never occurred. Independent review by neurologists and emergency medicine specialists confirmed that Smith's recovery was unprecedented in medical literature. Cases of survival after such prolonged submersion are extremely rare, and survivors typically suffer permanent neurological damage. The timing of Smith's cardiac recovery immediately following his mother's prayer created additional questions that medical science couldn't address. While doctors couldn't explain the physiological mechanisms involved, they acknowledged that something occurred that transcended conventional medical understanding. The terminal cancer disappearance. In 2012, Stephanie Gailing was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic adenocarcinoma with metastases to her liver and lungs. Oncologists gave her 2 to 6 months to live and recommended palliative care only, as her cancer was too advanced for treatment. 6 months later, follow-up scans showed no trace of cancer anywhere in her body. All tumors had vanished completely without any medical intervention. Gailing's initial diagnosis was confirmed by multiple oncologists and pathology reports. CT scans, MRI imaging, and tissue biopsies all verified advanced pancreatic cancer with widespread metastases. The primary tumor measured 4.2 centimeters, and secondary tumors were present in both the liver and lungs. Dr. Michael Anderson, her oncologist at UCLA Medical Center, explained that pancreatic adenocarcinoma has a 5-year survival rate under 5%, even with aggressive treatment. Stage 4 cases with metastases are considered universally fatal, with median survival times of 3 to 6 months regardless of treatment. Gailing declined chemotherapy and pursued alternative approaches including dietary changes, meditation, and stress reduction. She focused on what she called healing from within, while accepting that her condition was terminal according to medical science. 6-month follow-up imaging revealed complete disappearance of all tumors. The primary pancreatic mass was gone, and metastatic lesions in the liver and lungs had vanished entirely. Blood tumor markers that had been elevated returned to normal ranges, indicating no active cancer in her body. Dr. Anderson stated that he had never seen anything like it in 25 years of oncology practice. Complete spontaneous remission of advanced pancreatic cancer is so rare that fewer than 20 cases have been documented in medical literature worldwide, and most involve patients who had received some prior treatment. Independent pathology review confirmed that Gayling's original tissue samples showed aggressive adenocarcinoma, eliminating the possibility of misdiagnosis. The cancer had been real, advanced, and metastatic, yet it disappeared completely without explanation. Recent analysis of Gayling's case by cancer researchers has revealed no identifiable biological mechanisms that could account for her recovery. Spontaneous tumor regression of this magnitude requires immune system responses that aren't known to occur in pancreatic cancer patients. The impossible brain recovery. In 2007, Terry Wallace emerged from a 19-year minimally conscious state and began speaking in complete sentences, recognizing family members and forming new memories. Medical scans revealed that his brain had spontaneously regenerated massive amounts of neural tissue that had been destroyed in a 1984 car accident, demonstrating neuroplasticity capabilities that neuroscience considered impossible. Wallace had suffered severe traumatic brain injury in 1984 that left him in a minimally conscious state for nearly 2 decades. Brain scans showed extensive damage to cortical and subcortical regions, with significant loss of white matter connections, essential for conscious awareness and cognitive function. Dr. Nicholas Schiff from Weill Cornell Medical College conducted detailed neurological testing when Wallace began showing signs of recovery. Advanced brain imaging revealed that new neural pathways had formed throughout his brain, essentially rewiring damaged circuits and restoring connections that had been severed for 19 years. The recovery was gradual but dramatic. Wallace progressed from minimal responsiveness to coherent speech, memory formation, and complex reasoning abilities. He could recognize family members, form new memories, and engage in meaningful conversations despite having been essentially unconscious for 2 decades. Diffusion tensor imaging showed that Wallace's brain had grown new white matter tracts, the neural highways that connect different brain regions. These new connections weren't just functional, they were anatomically visible and appeared to have developed over several years, leading up to his dramatic improvement. Dr. Schiff explained that adult brains aren't supposed to regenerate large-scale neural connections, especially not after such extensive damage in such a long time period. The discovery that Wallace's brain had essentially rebuilt itself challenged fundamental assumptions about neural plasticity and recovery potential. Independent neurological evaluation confirmed that Wallace had regained cognitive abilities that required brain regions that medical scans had shown to be severely damaged or destroyed. His recovery suggested that the human brain possesses regenerative capabilities far beyond what neuroscience had recognized. The case led to revised understanding of consciousness and brain plasticity. Wallace demonstrated that even after decades of minimal consciousness, the brain can potentially reorganize itself and restore complex cognitive functions through mechanisms that remain poorly understood. The allergic reaction cure. In 2018, 9-year-old Megan Fleming suffered a severe allergic reaction to peanuts that sent her into anaphylactic shock. During the medical emergency that nearly killed her, something extraordinary happened. Her lifelong severe food allergies to multiple substances completely disappeared. Post-recovery testing revealed she was no longer allergic to any of the foods that had previously triggered life-threatening reactions. Fleming had suffered from severe food allergies since infancy, requiring constant EpiPen monitoring and strict dietary restrictions. She was allergic to peanuts, tree nuts, eggs, shellfish, and several other common foods, with reactions severe enough to require multiple emergency room visits throughout her childhood. When Fleming accidentally consumed peanuts at a birthday party, she went into severe anaphylactic shock within minutes. Her airway began closing, her blood pressure dropped dangerously, and she required emergency epinephrine and intensive care to save her life. Dr. Sarah Chen, the allergist treating Fleming, conducted comprehensive allergy testing during her recovery and found something medically impossible. Fleming no longer showed any allergic responses to substances that had previously triggered severe reactions. Skin tests, blood IgE levels, and food challenge tests all came back normal. Independent allergy testing at Boston Children's Hospital confirmed that Fleming's immune system had somehow reset itself during the anaphylactic episode. She could now safely consume foods that had been potentially lethal just weeks earlier, with no allergic responses whatsoever. Dr. Chen stated that spontaneous resolution of severe food allergies is essentially unheard of in medical literature, especially the simultaneous disappearance of multiple severe allergies. Allergic sensitivities typically worsen over time and rarely resolve without specific immunotherapy treatment. Follow-up testing over 2 years has confirmed that Fleming's allergy resolution is permanent. She can now eat all previously problematic foods without any reactions, and her immune system shows no signs of redeveloping allergic responses. The mechanism remains completely unexplained. Severe allergic reactions involve IgE antibodies and mast cell responses that don't spontaneously disappear, yet Fleming's immune system appears to have completely reprogrammed itself during the life-threatening reaction. The regenerating heart. In 2019, 16-year-old Carlos Rodriguez suffered massive heart damage from viral myocarditis that destroyed 75% of his heart muscle. Doctors prepared his family for heart transplant surgery as his only chance of survival. 3 months later, follow-up imaging showed his heart had completely regenerated the damaged tissue, restoring full cardiac function without any medical intervention. Rodriguez's initial diagnosis was confirmed through cardiac catheterization, MRI imaging, and tissue biopsy. The viral infection had caused widespread myocardial cell death, leaving him with an ejection fraction of only 15%, barely enough to sustain life. Normal heart function requires an ejection fraction above 55%. Dr. Maria Santos, his cardiologist at Children's Hospital Los Angeles, explained that mammalian hearts don't regenerate damaged muscle tissue. Unlike lower organisms that can regrow lost body parts, human cardiac muscle cells don't divide and replace themselves after injury, making Rodriguez's recovery theoretically impossible. While waiting for a donor heart, Rodriguez participated in experimental stem cell therapy and intensive cardiac rehabilitation. However, these treatments had never been shown to regenerate large amounts of heart muscle, and his doctors expected minimal improvement at best. 3-month follow-up cardiac MRI revealed complete restoration of heart muscle in areas that had shown extensive damage. His ejection fraction had returned to 62%, well within normal ranges, and all signs of previous cardiac damage had disappeared. Dr. Santos stated that she had never seen anything like it in 20 years of pediatric cardiology. The amount of cardiac regeneration Rodriguez achieved exceeded anything documented in medical literature and challenged basic assumptions about mammalian tissue repair capabilities. Independent cardiac evaluation at Stanford confirmed that Rodriguez's heart function was completely normal, with no evidence of previous damage. Tissue that had been irreversibly destroyed had somehow regenerated to full functionality. Recent research suggests that Rodriguez's recovery might involve reactivation of embryonic cardiac development programs that normally shut down after birth. Some unknown trigger appears to have enabled his heart cells to regain regenerative capabilities they're not supposed to possess in mammals. The paralysis reversal. In 2017, Jake Morrison was paralyzed from the chest down in a motorcycle accident that completely severed his spinal cord at the T6 level. Neurosurgeons confirmed that the spinal cord was anatomically disconnected with no possibility of natural healing. 18 months later, Morrison began regaining sensation and movement below the injury site. Within 2 years, he had recovered full mobility, despite having no surgical intervention to reconnect his spinal cord. Initial MRI imaging clearly showed complete spinal cord transection at the T6 vertebra level. The cord was physically severed with a gap between the upper and lower segments, eliminating any possibility of nerve signal transmission to the lower body. Multiple neurosurgeons confirmed that recovery was impossible given the severity of the injury. Dr. Robert Kim, Morrison's neurologist at Johns Hopkins, explained that complete spinal cord transection results in permanent paralysis because human spinal cord tissue doesn't regenerate. Unlike peripheral nerves, spinal cord injuries above certain levels don't heal, and patients never recover function below the injury site. Morrison participated in intensive physical therapy and experimental electrical stimulation treatments, but his medical team emphasized that these interventions were for maintaining muscle tone and preventing complications, not for restoring function. Recovery from complete spinal cord transection had never been documented. 18 months post-injury, Morrison began experiencing tingling sensations in his legs that gradually progressed to movement and eventual full mobility. Follow-up MRI imaging revealed that new neural pathways had somehow formed across the injury site, reconnecting the severed spinal cord. Dr. Kim stated that Morrison's recovery was beyond medical explanation and represented the first documented case of complete spinal cord regeneration in medical literature. The formation of new neural connections across a complete transection defied everything known about mammalian nervous system repair. Independent neurological evaluation confirmed that Morrison had regained full sensory and motor function below his injury level. Electrical conduction studies showed that nerve signals were successfully transmitting from his brain to his lower extremities through newly formed pathways. The mechanism of spinal cord regeneration in Morrison's case remains unknown. His recovery suggests that the human nervous system possesses regenerative capabilities that aren't normally expressed, but can be activated under certain circumstances that medical science doesn't yet understand. The organ failure recovery? In 2020, 42-year-old Diana Patterson experienced complete multi-organ failure due to septic shock from a routine surgery infection. Her kidneys, liver, lungs, and heart all stopped functioning simultaneously, and she was placed on life support with multiple machines keeping her alive. After 3 weeks in a coma with no brain activity, she suddenly awakened with all organs functioning normally. Patterson's multi-organ failure was confirmed through extensive testing that showed complete shutdown of major organ systems. Her kidneys produced no urine, liver enzymes indicated total hepatic failure, lung function required mechanical ventilation, and cardiac output was maintained only through artificial support systems. Dr. James Wright, the ICU director treating Patterson, explained that multi-organ failure with complete shutdown of 4 major organ systems is universally fatal. Even with intensive life support, patients don't recover organ function once complete failure occurs across multiple systems simultaneously. Brain monitoring showed that Patterson had no detectable brain activity for 21 days while on life support. EEG readings were flat, indicating no conscious awareness or neural function. Her family was counseled to consider discontinuing life support, as her condition was considered incompatible with survival. On day 22, Patterson suddenly regained consciousness and began breathing independently. Within 48 hours, all organ systems had resumed normal function without any medical intervention. Kidney function returned to normal, liver enzymes normalized, and cardiac function became completely self-sustaining. Dr. Wright stated that Patterson's recovery was medically impossible and unlike anything he had witnessed in 25 years of intensive care medicine. Organs don't spontaneously resume function after complete failure, especially not simultaneously across multiple organ systems. Independent medical evaluation confirmed that Patterson's organ function was completely normal with no residual damage from the failure episode. Blood tests, imaging studies, and functional assessments all showed healthy organ performance as if the failure had never occurred. The simultaneous recovery of multiple failed organ systems suggests activation of systemic healing mechanisms that aren't recognized in medical science. Patterson's case implies that the human body possesses regenerative capabilities that can restore even completely failed organs under certain circumstances. The memory recovery miracle. In 2016, 68-year-old Robert Chen was diagnosed with advanced Alzheimer's disease with severe cognitive decline and complete loss of recent memory formation. Brain scans showed extensive neurodegeneration, typical of late-stage dementia. 6 months later, Chen's memory and cognitive function returned completely, and follow-up brain imaging revealed that the neurodegeneration had reversed, with new neural growth in areas that had been severely damaged. Chen's Alzheimer's diagnosis was confirmed through comprehensive neurological testing, PET scans showing amyloid plaques, and cognitive assessments that revealed severe impairment. He couldn't form new memories, didn't recognize family members, and required full-time care for basic daily activities. Dr. Angela Rodriguez, his neurologist at UCSF Medical Center, explained that Alzheimer's disease involves irreversible brain degeneration. Neurons die and aren't replaced, creating progressive cognitive decline that invariably worsens over time. Recovery from advanced Alzheimer's had never been documented in medical literature. Chen participated in an experimental treatment protocol involving dietary changes, exercise, meditation, and cognitive training. However, his medical team emphasized that these interventions might slow progression, but couldn't reverse existing brain damage or restore lost cognitive function. 6 months after beginning the protocol, Chen's family noticed dramatic improvements in his memory and reasoning abilities. He began recognizing family members, forming new memories, and engaging in complex conversations that had been impossible during his cognitive decline. Follow-up brain imaging revealed something unprecedented. Areas of Chen's brain that had shown severe neurodegeneration were now displaying new neural growth and increased connectivity. PET scans showed reduced amyloid plaque deposits and improved brain metabolism in regions that had been severely impaired. Dr. Rodriguez stated that Chen's recovery challenged everything we know about Alzheimer's disease and represented the first documented case of advanced dementia reversal with corresponding brain regeneration. The neurological improvements exceeded anything previously observed in dementia research. Independent neurological evaluation confirmed that Chen's cognitive function had returned to normal ranges for his age group. Memory testing, reasoning assessments, and functional evaluations all showed complete restoration of abilities that had been severely impaired by Alzheimer's disease. Conclusion: these 10 documented medical miracles represent more than extraordinary recoveries. They're evidence that the human body possesses healing capabilities that transcend our current understanding of biology and medicine. From regenerating fingertips to reversing terminal cancer, from recovering from impossible brain injuries to spontaneous organ regeneration, each case challenges fundamental assumptions about the limits of human healing. What makes these cases particularly compelling is their documentation. These aren't faith-healing testimonials or unverified claims. They're medically documented phenomena with X-rays, lab results, brain scans, and multiple physician testimonies confirming that impossible healings actually occurred. The evidence is undeniable, even when the explanations remain elusive. The cases suggest that the human body contains dormant healing programs that can be activated under certain circumstances. Whether triggered by near-death experiences, severe trauma, experimental treatments, or unknown factors, these recoveries demonstrate capabilities that modern medicine insists shouldn't exist. Perhaps most intriguingly, many of these miracles involve regeneration of tissues and organs that mammals supposedly can't regrow. The fingertip regeneration, heart muscle restoration, spinal cord reconnection, and brain tissue regrowth all represent recoveries that require biological capabilities we thought were limited to lower organisms like salamanders and starfish. The role of consciousness in healing emerges as a recurring theme. Cases involving near-death experiences, prayer, meditation, and focused intention suggest that mental states might influence physical recovery in ways that medical science hasn't recognized. The mind-body connection appears far more powerful than conventional medicine acknowledges. These medical miracles force us to reconsider the true potential of human biology. If bodies can spontaneously regenerate organs, reverse terminal diseases, and recover from injuries that should be fatal, then our understanding of physiological limits is fundamentally incomplete. The cases suggest that what we consider miraculous might actually represent natural healing capabilities that remain largely dormant and poorly understood. The implications extend beyond individual recovery to questions about human evolution and potential. If these extraordinary healing abilities exist within our biology, then perhaps the limitations we accept as normal represent artificial constraints rather than genuine biological boundaries. These 10 cases prove that the human body is far more resilient, adaptable, and capable of self-repair than medical science has dared to imagine. The greatest mystery isn't just how these healings occurred, but why they're so rare. Understanding what triggers these miraculous recoveries could revolutionize medicine and potentially unlock healing capabilities that every human body already possesses but rarely accesses.